Hey everybody, welcome back to The Stuff of Legend. My name is D'Lo and I have a spoiler review for you guys for the recent movie Shazam in the DCEU. I wanted to let you guys know I've been having some difficulties. I tried to go live just before this, so if you guys are seeing this, make sure to give me a thumbs up. Let me know if your playback is working, because I'm going to be getting into a lot with you here and I want to make sure you guys are getting everything. So just keep me in the loop. Let me know what you guys are experiencing on your side. That way we can make sure that everything's working correctly, all right? So just stay with me. Again, at the top, you guys can see open spoiler discussion, proceed with caution. I'm going to be talking in depth about everything that I felt and thought about Shazam, including all the spoilers, all right? So bear with me. Thank you, Hunter Iggy. You say I can hear you. I appreciate that. My playback is working now, so I'm not sure if maybe I just had to wait for it, get into it a little bit more. But I really appreciate you telling me that. All right, so now we can get into this. I'm going to start off by showing you guys the good, all right? So the good things I loved about Shazam. Number one was that it was able to set up four origins all at once, right? So a lot of people had been complaining online about the beginning and how it was very slow, right? And I understand that. I understand how it can seem slow to some people. I was really intrigued, captivated by the whole thing. I really appreciated what was going on. Starting out with Dr. Thaddeus as a kid was a big, a bold move. I liked that. And especially being that this isn't, you're not dealing with Spider-Man, right? Or Batman, where we've seen his origin 1,000 times. Everyone in the world knows the origin of Spider-Man. We understand Ben Parker. We understand getting bit by the spider. We know the whole story, right? With Shazam, you don't. Most people don't know his origin. Even comic book nerds are like, I can't remember, how did it go again? I forgot how he got the power. They know he gets the power by calling out the word Shazam, the name of the wizard that granted him the power, but they don't understand how he got that. They don't understand what the Rock of Eternity is. And so setting that up was really important, and I liked how they did that. They started it out with Dr. Thaddeus because it also provided context for when Billy was approached by the wizard, and he tried to reject it, and the wizard basically didn't take no for an answer. He was pure of heart, he had good intentions, and he said, look, I don't deserve this power, recognizing his own personal flaws, which was something that many did not do. And so I really liked how they set up the story, how they set up the character, but also they set up the fact that many others in the past had received the power or been chosen as champion, and they became flawed and corrupt, referring back to what is very clearly Black Adam. And that was a huge thing for many of us nerds that were in the theater at that moment. We were freaking out. We were freaking giddy. It was just amazing to see. Yes, they're teasing that. And you know why? A lot of people don't know this, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was one of the producers on the film. He actually helped finance and make this movie get going, and he's been a huge proponent in making sure that these stories get told and that Black Adam will be coming in the DCEU, because he's been, you guys already know, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has been on contract with Warner Brothers in DC for over 10 years now to play Black Adam. Yet they have never come up with a script and a story that would work. They never got the project off the ground. They've been pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and now we're at the time when Shazam is a movie that they have confidence in. They're saying, you know what, we need to stray away from just Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, the holy trinity of DC, and venture off into other properties like Aquaman and Shazam. And that to me is huge. That's something that I have been waiting for a very long time, because now we're going to get stuff like Blue Beetle. We're going to get shows on the DC Universe streaming service like Stargirl. We already have Doom Patrol. We already have Titans. We're starting to see all these other projects bubbling up, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I loved Aquaman. I absolutely love Shazam, but I'm not done talking about it just yet, all right? So to wrap up that first point, right? One of the good things about Shazam is that they masterfully balanced telling basically almost five origins at once. They told Dr. Sivana's origin, Shazam's origin, they set up Black Adam, they set up I'm going to spoil it right now, the Shazam kids, and they set up like future movies. They basically created the template for all the lore that goes into Shazam and his backstory. They basically set up a huge platform that they could build basically whatever they want off of in just 10 minutes. And so a lot of people are complaining about those 10 minutes, saying it was really dry in the beginning. But I couldn't disagree more. I think it was a masterful use of 10 minutes of screen time. I think it was great for the story that they were in. It wasn't like they were just planning future films. It was pertinent to the story they were in, and I felt like that was critical. It was compelling. I really liked seeing John Glover back from Smallville. He was playing Dr. Thaddeus Sivana's father, and he did a really good job there. He was a genuine jerk, and he did such a good job being a jerk, just like he was on Smallville. So that was really nice. So anyway, I do want to say that Dr. Villain, the villain Dr. Sivana, was a great catalyst that brought forth what I did not really see coming. I thought, based on the trailers, that they were setting up the 7 Deadly Sins for a future film. But rather, Dr. Sivana was very different in this movie than he was in the comics, in that he had basically Shazam's powers. They made him someone that was godlike, like he was. And what they did, what I didn't see coming, was that yes, he was different, but he was different because of something that was still comic book accurate. The 7 Deadly Sins were the primary plot point of this film. It wasn't just Dr. Sivana. Dr. Sivana was a catalyst for change to bring forth the 7 Deadly Sins into the world, and that was the primary plot. So I thought, based on the trailers, they were teasing us with a cameo or an Easter egg, because you could kind of see the statues of the 7 Deadly Sins in the trailer, but it didn't seem at all like that was the plot point of the film. And I was pleasantly surprised and shocked even to find how they were able to not only make it work, but how that was actually the primary plot, and they didn't give that away in the marketing. I was really impressed by that, because it's pretty rare nowadays that trailers for comic book movies come out and you don't know what's going on. I think the only ones that do that really are basically Infinity War and Endgame. That's pretty much the only ones that I've seen where you genuinely have no idea what's going on. All the other ones, they kind of give you a little bit of a middle, a little bit of the beginning, and sometimes they bleed too much into the end and give away too much. And Shazam's marketing really impressed me. Once I saw the movie, I was like, dang, dude, they really didn't spoil anything for you. So I really like that. Now that's what I'm here doing. I'm spoiling it for you. So Hunter Iggy says, Hawkgirl is Mexican and Egyptian mixed. I believe in the comics she wasn't Mexican originally. They adapted her. Well, I think basically it's funny. I have a lot of Hispanic friends, but I have a couple of friends that are from Egypt, and they could very, very easily pass as Hispanic, very easily. Until they start talking, they could pass very easily visually as Latina or Hispanic, so that to me seems like a close enough comparison that you're going to probably wind up with Hispanic actors and actresses playing Hawkman and Hawkwoman. Or I'm sorry, Hawkgirl, Hawkwoman. Yeah, so those are my thoughts. Thanks for that comment. So anyway, back to the good things about Shazam. So the good things about Shazam, I feel like Dr. Thaddeus Sivana, he was able to be a character that was a little bit more important in this film to bring about the bigger picture of what the plot really was about, the 7 Deadly Sins. And they kind of allowed that corruption to give him godlike powers to stand up to Shazam, kind of like a General Zod, really. Not the same character, not the same origin, but basically someone with equal power going toe-to-toe that is much more merciless and brutal. And to me, that was it was effective, because the whole point of Shazam was to connect with Billy, not so much like the villain, you know what I mean? And so I know this is going to kind of add fuel to the fire of the people that are saying it was like a Marvel film. I would disagree with that, because a lot of the Marvel villains have been really great. I know there's a lot that are basically throwaways, but hey, it's not like DC hasn't done throwaways with bigger villains like freaking Doomsday. You know what I mean? So it's almost like a moot point. You're talking about 22 films, and it's like, yeah, of course you're gonna have a few throwaways, or several throwaways even, and then in just a pinch, just like 5 or 6 movies, you have a few of them that were really good. You have a lot of them that were pretty bad, actually. So in the DC side, I'm looking at you, Suicide Squad. So anyway, and I'm not a DC hater. I freaking love DC. I love this movie. I love Aquaman. I freaking love Man of Steel, Wonder Woman. I'm a big fan of Batman versus Superman, even though they did the Doomsday thing. it was for the most part, I think I've really enjoyed almost all of the DC films, and I can't wait to see more. I'm really excited about this. So the next point, and I'm gonna be on good for a while, guys, because there's a lot to talk about here that I was really impressed by. I already talked about the marketing. Nothing ruined by the trailers. It had a very like 80s kid movie feel, you know, just going to school and just free, like open, you know, latchkey kids just roaming the street, and kind of, it was very like fun. Like they just go out at night and kind of do their thing. They're not really supposed to, but they kind of do anyway. And even though it's not in the 80s, it's not even in the 90s, it's taking place now. It's still, they filmed it and wrote it in a way that it would kind of be timeless. In fact, a lot of the jokes and the I don't know, the gags they kind of did in the film that were dated like in our time. So like 10 years down the road, people look back and be like, "Oh, that's so old school." Most of those things happened in the marketing of the film. Like you already saw him do the floss dance. You already saw the reference to the Game of Thrones in the trailer. You know, like there was a couple of things that were thrown in there for marketing's sake to get people into the theaters now. But most of the comedy throughout the film was actually quite timeless. I was really impressed by how much I felt like, wow, this just felt like a really good movie. It didn't feel like they were trying super hard to pander to kids today. It didn't feel like they were trying really hard to even give it much of an 80s feel. But we got a lot more of those types of movies in the 80s and 90s, where you would see kids just hanging out with each other and having issues, going to school, that kind of stuff. A lot more of those films happened in the 80s and 90s. And I think that's why it kind of had that feel. So anyway, there was also... oh, yeah. So the family. So I was really impressed, okay? So, like, normally you go into a movie and it's about a kid and he's, like, an orphan or a foster, and then the parents are either, like, really dweeby or really, like, they're jerks, or they're just, like, the perfect image of parents. Oh, my goodness, I can't believe this would happen. And it's, like, it's really, I don't know, like, stereotype, or, like, you would feel like, of course, they would play the parents that way. And this movie really impressed me because I really connected with the dad and the mom that were the foster parents to the foster kids, the Shazam kids. It was really enjoyable to watch. What was his name? Cooper Andrews and, if I'm getting her name right, Marta Milans. They were really good together. They had a really funny dynamic where they were kind of poking at each other a little bit, but in a respectful way, because mom and dad got to be on the same team, even though they might be in a disagreement. You know, like they had this really fun, like, fun way of bantering, but respectfully and lovingly with one another, because they're in it together to try to help these kids. And you really felt that with these guys. I basically took my hat off. I was like, hey, you know, with Cooper Andrews and Marta Milans, good on you guys. That was a really, really good performance, and it really helped make the film a quality film. It felt like adding Stanley Tucci, or in this case, Mark Strong, to your film to make it a better overall film, because the supporting cast or the secondary cast is really, really good. This was kind of what that did. I felt like this time around, Cooper Andrews and Marta Milans were that Mark Strong type of, or Stanley Tucci kind of character, where you just throw them in there and it makes the quality of your film that much better. That's what it did for me. Hey, let me see if I can rebalance my camera. I don't know if it's gonna take. That's all right. Let me see if I can move over here, get that out of the way. So anyway, let me take some comments, see what's going on. There are rumors that they're going around that Idris Elba is going to be playing Bronze Tiger in Suicide Squad. You know what? That's actually what I was gonna guess. I was gonna guess they were gonna have him be Bronze Tiger, because that would be absolutely spectacular. I think he would be a great Bronze Tiger. I was going to make a video about that myself. I might as well at this point, but I'll let that be where it is, because I think that if Will Smith wants to come back in the future, I think they want to leave that door open for him, and they might as well explore other options or see if they can get him back into the role. Even though he stepped down, I think that for the right price and the right motivation with the right director, he'd probably be willing to come back. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm thinking here. So next, the family was awesome. The kids were awesome. It was just really fun. None of the kids seemed like awful or unenjoyable. Like all of them seemed fun, relatable. I grew up with siblings. I have an adopted sister, and it felt like a really fun take on a like puzzle piece family. You know what I mean? And even families that are born into the same household, it almost always feels like a puzzle piece family where sometimes you're disjointed, but you can always come back together and there's a connection that you can find with one another. And that's kind of how it felt. It was really good. I really liked the family element to the story of Shazam. So anyway, next on the list, we have, yes, so the balance, okay, so the balance between comedy and intensity is something that Marvel has done really, really well with all of their films. All of their films have found a way to get either really dramatic, really serious, really intense, and just kind of build, and then it breaks it up with good comedy. And they have this really good timing where they take the audience on a roller coaster of like it's like sad, it's downer, it's whatever, and it comes to this place of stability, and then it picks back up with comedy right before you get like too heavy in your heart or something like that, and then it comes back down so you can continue that storyline, and they soften it with humor and they come back, you know. And Shazam was able to do that. There was a lot of times in Shazam that I was like, dang dude, this is freaking Lord of the Rings over here, like it's dark, you know, like there was some scary images, like this is not a PG film for sure, this is a PG-13 film, pushing into that darker boundary at a couple of scenes, right? And so if you guys have seen the movie, you already know what I'm talking about when the 7 deadly sins come out, and they're literally biting people's heads off in a terror like frenzy, killing people in that conference room, and then just they look really freaky and stuff. You know, it was kind of like the orcs in Lord of the Rings. And to me, I was like, dang, dude, like, you know, they want to let people know this is still a DC movie, even though it is in fact a comedy. And that was, you know, that was one thing that I really liked, was that it was a good, solid, legit comedy, but there was also tons of action, some, you know, darker elements and themes, and it found a way to still feel very DC, even though it's the first DC comedy. I mean, Aquaman, you can make an argument that it was also kind of a comedy, but it's more of a fantasy adventure with comedy. This one, Shazam, is definitely 100% a comedy with loads of adventure and action. It was great. I love it. And so, yeah, so that was kind of what I was going to say there. Great comedic timing. And then this also, again, I said this in the last review, the spoiler-free review. It leaves you with such a hope and a confidence that the next iterations of DC films are going to be legit, because they know what their characters are. Now that Jeff Johns is back in that creative producing seat, he's able to help guide the directors and writers to say, hey man, this is what the character is. This is what his actual DNA is as a character. These are the relationships he has with his villains and the secondary characters. Let's make sure we're sticking true to the basics, and then the rest will be up to you. So it's really helpful when you have a character like Shazam to not be freaking Batman. You know what I mean? I love Man of Steel, but that was the number one gripe people had with Man of Steel, was that it felt like they were trying to Batmanize Superman. He's supposed to be the symbol of hope. He's supposed to be like truth, justice, and the American way. He's the Boy Scout. He's not supposed to be like the dark, gritty, whatever, but that's Zack Snyder for you. And I love Man of Steel. I freaking love Man of Steel. But it did feel like a very, very different take on the character, and a lot of people were turned off by that. Now, with Shazam, let me readjust my camera. I don't know if it's readjusting, whatever. With Shazam, it felt a lot like how it's supposed to feel. It's definitely something that I think was it was fun, it was funny, and it didn't very much feel like it was trying to be something it didn't need to be. You know what I mean? Like, Man of Steel didn't need to try to be Batman. It could just be an awesome film with really intense scenes, and to me that's what it felt like, but a lot of people felt otherwise. So with Shazam, it's clearly what it set out to be. It's clearly what it was originally designed to be, and that is important. Same with Aquaman, but Aquaman had something else going with it. They had seen how the character was supposed to be initially, taken somewhat seriously, like a little bit lighthearted, but at the same time taken seriously, and then how the pop culture has seen it for the last 50 years. And it's like, yeah, okay, if everyone in the world thinks Aquaman's a joke, then let's try to give him a bit of a serious story. Like, we'll give him a serious story, kind of like Man of Steel, but we're going to give it some humor as well, because people need to know that, hey, you don't have to take everything so seriously, but after this movie, they will understand that Aquaman is a force to not be trifled with. You know what I mean? And so he's a force that you need to be afraid of, really. And so that is something that I appreciated about the DCEU movies now, and I have so much more confidence for movies going on now that I've seen Shazam and that it works totally within its own context. So that is also good. Now, lastly, well, let me see. I've got a couple things on this list to go for the good, and then I'll jet through the others. All right. So number 8, there's a surprise twist at the end, and you know, like, they're fighting the 7 deadly sins. They're about to get overwhelmed, and surprise, surprise, the Shazam kids are born. Right. So Billy gets the idea that, like, the thrones in the Rock of Eternity are supposed to be filled, right, with the brothers and sisters. And now that he has a family, he realizes, hey, like, I'm supposed to rely on my family. I'm not supposed to run from these guys. They can be a strength here, and he has the power of Shazam. He can wield it. Not just the powers that were given to him by the wizard. He has the powers of the frickin' wizard. So he can actually, with that staff, imbue that power into his siblings. And so then he's able to imbue them with the powers of Shazam. And now what is it again? Like 5? Is it 5? I forget. It was, let me see. It was Eugene. It was Darla. It was Mary. It was Freddie. It was Pedro, and then it's Billy. So yeah, it's 6 total. So 5 of the siblings, and then Billy. So that's 6 total. So yeah, six Shazams. Friggin', it's sick. It's awesome. And then when they do that, the intensity ramps up, your excitement ramps up, but also the comedy ramps up and the action ramps up. So they're able to literally just find all the little dials on their little board of how to make movies, and they just ramp it all up. And then you're like, yeah, more comedy, more action, more awesome, more intense feels, and it's going to be just freaking legit. And so then you just get this awesome, it's a legit, epic, cinematic climax that you're just like, boom, boom, boom. This is it, dude. This is it. And you've arrived. And then you get all kinds of awesome jokes. You're good for at least one Hadouken by the Asian guy, of course, which was perfection. I was so proud of DC for going there because we all were thinking it. And it was just so great. I love it. And I want to see more of that guy. Whoever was the actor that was playing the Asian kid's God form was sick, dude. I want to see more of that guy. I want to see more of Freddy's guy. I don't know any of the actors' names who were the older Shazam kids because I think it was kind of kept quiet because obviously that's a spoiler. But seriously, like, it was freaking legit, dude. It was so freaking funny. And it was awesome. It was epic to see them all just on display. Darla's character, like, her God form was like super speeding everywhere. They kind of made everyone have like, they all had each other's power, like, totally, but they focused on one. Like Freddy, since he was limp, his thing was he was focusing on flight, and so he was having this like air chase with one of the 7 deadly sins. And then, you know, the Asian guy was just blasting with lightning, you know, Hadouken, and it was so sick. Pedro was, like, super strong, and then Mary was, you know, like, game planning and then also fighting, and it was just so cool. It was great. I absolutely love it. I loved the way that it ended, and I love that it was true to Dr. Sivana because they established that the power wasn't really his, right? He stole the power, and by the end, he doesn't have the power. And so it was true to his character. While they were still able to adapt him to kind of be like a temporary General Zod, they're still going to be using him in his correct way in the future. And so I really like that. They kind of had like a Spider-Man Homecoming at the end of the like an Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man Homecoming end credit scene type of thing like that, which was really cool, alluding to so much more that's going to be taking place, like visiting the other like realms or ancient cities or whatever it was. And one of those is Kondak, where Black Adam is, and that's his nation. And so it alludes to Black Adam in the beginning, and it alludes to Black Adam at the end. And we know that Dwayne The Rock Johnson, I'll make a video about this to recap this, but Dwayne The Rock Johnson said they plan to be shooting Black Adam in about a year's time. And he said that right after the premiere, or the world premiere of Shazam. And so I'm really, really excited. And he's a producer on this film. He helped make this movie happen, which is super sick. And so to me, again, just to recap, this movie, it made me leave the theater feeling as excited and inspired as I did when I left the theaters, or rather the drive-in, when I saw Spider-Man for the very first time, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man when I was a kid. And to me, that's what it's all about. That's what all of like the nostalgia and the movies and the comics and all that stuff, it's what it's all about. It's there to keep that child alive in you. You know what I mean? That excitement, that childlike wonder, your imagination flowing. That's what's so cool about these things. And this movie 100% took me back to the very first comic book movie I ever sat through and watched, and that was Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. I was so driven with nostalgia. It felt like a Spider-Man movie to me. It really did. And I love this movie. I can't tell you how much it meant to me to see this movie, and what it did for me as far as excitement and nostalgia. I just love it. I love it so much. And I think it is clearly the most enjoyable or probably rewatchable DC film of all time. But it's also, I think it's up in the running for maybe one of the best. Probably in the top 3 for sure. I know there's not a ton of them, but people have been telling me they really love Wonder Woman. It's their favorite. People tell me that Man of Steel is their favorite. And then some people have said Aquaman is currently their favorite, but a lot of people right now are switching it up, and I think for a lot of people, Shazam has taken their #1 spot. I'll have to do a personal reevaluation for you guys for DCEU films, but honestly, I think Shazam is in the discussion for probably my first or second favorite now. I'm loving it. I love it. So I know that was a long time, 28 minutes, but that was the good. So now let's talk about the bad, all right? So as far as the bad, I spoke to a buddy, and he pointed out to me that at a certain part of the film, Billy doesn't use a lot of lightning. So towards the end, he just kind of simply almost stops using lightning. And the reason being, I think, is pretty easy to explain if you think about it. It's because he was mostly fighting Savannah, who was given the same power. And like there was a couple of times when Savannah was vulnerable, and he knew he was vulnerable, and I think he should have just blasted him with lightning. But I think part of it is that, I don't know, like, I think for the story, you couldn't just off him. And I don't think Billy was trying to kill him. I think he was just trying to stop him. So it's possible that could have been the reasoning. Although, a lot of us were expecting to see kind of more of a Thor Ragnarok's, like, on the Bifrost type of thing, where it's like, and it's like going in that, like, and like the rock music drops, then you get like just lightning everywhere. Or like when Thor enters Wakanda in Infinity War, you know, bring me Thanos, you know, like that kind of an entrance towards the end for Shazam would have been really dope. But again, I don't know what the budget was on this thing. I think it was something like, I could be wrong on this, but I'm gonna try to find it right now. Shazam budget. The budget for Shazam, I think it was, let me see. The budget was somewhere between 80 to 100 million. And I think worldwide in opening weekend, or as of April 9th, sorry, it grossed 167.1 million worldwide. So it already beat its budget as far as general budget, but then you have to also account for the marketing. And so that's really good for a movie of its size, of its budget. I know that people are going to be like, well, it didn't do like Black Panther big, or it didn't do, you know, Thor Ragnarok big, or Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's, you know, it's also something that people are not confident in because the DCEU has a reputation, right? But it's also breaking that mold. So a lot of people are starting to get confidence back after seeing Wonder Woman, after seeing Aquaman, after seeing Shazam. Now a lot of people it's getting good word of mouth. It's starting to grow. I think it's going to have legs because if it doesn't have a killer opening weekend, that means a lot of people are still yet to see the film and probably will still go see the film once their friends tell them it was really good. And that's what it's doing right now. So it's got a really small budget, which is going to work in its favor. And I think that's why they didn't do like this crazy lightning scene at the end, because they were really generous with how much CGI they had all throughout the film. There was a lot of CGI throughout the film, and it was really good. Like, it wasn't weak CGI. It was really good CGI. So that, to me, it speaks to the amount of effort they're putting into these films. The budget was able to remain quite small for a DC movie or a superhero movie, and they were able to make it back in a weekend, which means they were able to greenlight the movie even sooner than they even greenlit Aquaman. It took a few weeks for them to greenlight Aquaman, but the weekend after its first, like, it just finished its first weekend, they greenlit it again. So there was some negative there, like you might have been expecting a little bit more in the finish of Shazam, possibly, but they did a really good job with the plot twist with the Shazam kids. And it was really fun and a satisfying ending, unless you were really looking for that big CGI fight at the end or something, you know what I mean? So that I put in the bad because a lot of people were expecting that, and I think we're spoiled from the Marvel movies, honestly. Because those budgets are freaking nuts. They could do whatever they want. And it was good. But it was really great. I really enjoyed the ending of Shazam. Even though you didn't have that like Thor Ragnarok level pop, you know? So it's okay. I put it in the bad though. So anyway, next, one thing I will say is the second after credit, okay? The second after credit was really lame, and I'll tell you why. The second after credit, so the first after credit, if you saw it, it was like that Spider-Man Homecoming where Dr. Sivana's in jail, and he's locked up, but then someone kind of comes to visit him, you know? It was very cool. That one was also really good. I wanted to put that one in the good. I think I kind of already covered it though, because I'm forgetting what the name is. It's that freaking caterpillar. Shazam end credit. I had to look it up because I didn't read the comics here. But let's see. I think it was let me see. Mr. Mind, that's what it is. So it's Mr. Mind is like that caterpillar looking like insect bug. And he approaches Thaddeus Savant and he's like, dude, he's like, we gotta get back to the cities or whatever. He says like, I'll be your best friend or something like that. It's pretty cool. It was really elusive. Like, if you don't know the comics, and I didn't really. I mean, I understood the characters, I understood the backgrounds, but I didn't understand this villain. I don't know this villain, so I had to do a lot of research afterward, like most of you. And so it was really cool because it made me do some homework. But then once I understood it, I was like, dude, they're talking about freaking Black Adam. They're talking about going and gathering some of the old school stuff, right? Going to those old cities. And that's going to include going to Kondak and probably awakening Black Adam, which I believe is going to be the next film. It'll probably be this Shazam movie, then Black Adam, and then Shazam and Black Adam is probably the third one. So I'll bet Dr. Sivana and Mr. Mind are going to go out there and awaken Black Adam. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of. I know I'm talking about this in the bad, and the reason I alluded to this is to contrast it with the end credit that follows it. The end credit that follows it, you wait and wait and wait till the end of the credits. And then, do you guys remember in the trailers for Shazam how Freddy was in his room and he was wearing an Aquaman shirt, and then Billy was holding the fishbowl trying to talk to it, or he was Shazam. He was not in his Billy form, he was in his Shazam form. And they were joking about how lame it would be to talk to fish, or how that's not a useful superpower. that was the end credit. So that scene exactly was the end credit. They literally showed the end credit in the trailers. Like, they spoiled it. The whole end credit was already spoiled. And that to me was very frustrating, because once I saw it, it's like, yeah, the joke is funny, but I literally already heard it. Like, we already heard the trailers. So then you get to the end and it's that. That was disappointing to me. That felt lazy. They should have done more with what's it called? I don't know, Superman, or they should have brought in Jason Momoa. They should have had Jason Momoa show up and like grab the fishbowl and take it back to the sea. You know, like they should have had something like that. Like he was like disrespecting the fish, you know? That would have been hilarious. And that would have been much more than we got in the trailers. So that was the only thing. So I know I said the marketing didn't spoil anything. I think it was reversed. I don't think the marketing was spoiling the end credit. I think what it was they didn't have a plan for a second end credit, and they decided to just go there at the end and just say, you know what? Let's put a second end credit in there. What should we use? I don't know. Maybe do the fishbowl thing so we could promote Aquaman again. That to me felt lazy. So that was not good. Other than that, I have, I think that was it. So the last thing I have, so that was the bad, right? Now, as far as the confusing stuff to me was this. I'm going to go ahead and read this. So the last thing you see in the movie before the credits is Freddy is, you know, in the cafeteria, and one of the plot things they did in the movie was Shazam was supposed to show up and be like, yeah, me and Freddy are best friends, and save him from the bullies. Well, he didn't do that, and then at the end, they end up making good on that deal, right? The Shazam kids all come together, and Freddy's sitting there. All the kids are avoiding Freddy, and then in walks Shazam, being like, hey, yeah, this is Freddy, my best bud, and I don't know who the other kids are, but they look pretty cool too. You should probably get to know them. And Freddy's floored. He's losing it. He's geeking out. And then he's like, and I also brought a friend with me. And then you see in the cafeteria with the tray, he turns and he's walking. You see up to here, to the neck, right? So it's not showing his head, but it shows the Superman chest. It's the Man of Steel suit. It's literally Superman. DCEU Superman walks into the cafeteria and stands there, and Freddy just geeks out. And then it cuts to black, right? And that's when the credits start to roll, which was awesome. It was epic. Now, the reason why this is confusing is because from the neck down, anyone could have been wearing that suit, and we're pretty sure, because I think they even said somewhere on like a tweet or something that it was a body double for Henry Cavill. It was presumably not Henry Cavill. And this to me raises a lot of red flags and questions, but I think it raises almost more questions than red flags to me. So it's confusing because who played Superman? I want to know who was in the suit. I want to know what body double. Was it a stunt guy? Was it just another like beefy dude? It might have been one of the guys who were playing Shazam. We don't know. Like he was only shown from the neck down because presumably could have been a body double sent to fill in for Henry Cavill. But also it could be because DC wants the rumors to fester about Cavill leaving. So I don't believe Cavill is out. I don't believe he's leaving. He has one more film on his contract. He can't just ditch. But I think that because he has one more film on his contract, they opted to not use him in this cameo because that would have completed his contract. I think that DC's trying to hang on a little bit longer just to say, look, once we get a script, once we get a really good director with a great vision for this character, we are going to get you Man of Steel 2. And so I think that they didn't let him be Man of Steel in this one. They didn't let him be Superman and use the body double so that it wouldn't fulfill his contract. And so that way they could have more time to plan and prep for another Superman film that they could really use him and make a lot of money. And I do believe that Henry Cavill wants to stay in the position of Superman. I don't think he wants someone else taking up that mantle, but he also doesn't want to be in a garbage movie. And so he's waiting, and they're just going to wait until they get someone like, if James Gunn will step up and if he's able to get a non-exclusive contract signed with Disney I don't know how that's going to work because he's currently working with both Sony and DC before he goes back to Guardians. So he's actually in an active contract with both DC and Marvel. So it must be non-exclusive. And if that's the case, then he is welcome to come back to do Man of Steel 2. I think that would be great. That's not confirmed. That's my speculation. That's what I want to happen. That's like my hopes and dreams. And you guys have seen my video about that, I'm sure. But nevertheless, it raises a lot of questions. And so that's why that was confusing, is because we know it wasn't Henry Cavill because it was neck down. You couldn't see the head or the face. I don't know. That was confusing. It raised a lot of questions, and I want the answers for that. But anyway, let me know what you guys thought about that anyway. So that's basically all of my thoughts for Shazam movie review. And so, yeah, that's all I really had to say. Now, anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to check the comments really quick. Rumors about Idris Elba. I didn't really get to address that one, but Suicide Squad, right? So Suicide Squad, yes, it's going to be James Gunn. Originally, they said it was going to be a full reboot. That is no longer the case because Harley Quinn's back. There's rumors that Jai Courtney's in talks to come back. They're bringing back, I think, the Amanda Waller actress. I think they're bringing back, who else? Oh, yeah, they were supposed to reboot Will Smith because he stepped down, and then Idris Elba was confirmed by everyone over there, and I think even James Gunn, that he was going to be taking over as Deadshot. That is no longer the case. Idris Elba is now going to be playing a separate character. So I think that the plans have been reworked to no longer be a complete reboot, but actually to function as a sequel independent of the stories that took place in the first movie. So they don't have to keep going with Jared Leto's Joker, per se. They can choose to do whatever they want. So I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good start. It's a good direction. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, you guys, thank you so much for staying tuned in this. This is a big video, approximately 40-45 minutes. I'm glad that you guys stuck it out. I'm glad that I was able to get this done. This was a big one. But anyways, you guys rock. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you guys want, please communicate with me in the comments down below. Just scroll all the way to the bottom and leave your comments. Do you like what I had to say? Did I miss something? Did I forget to say something that was good, bad, or confusing? Also, let me know what was your favorite part about Shazam, and who was your favorite Shazam kid? I want to know that down below in the comments as well. So anyways, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please turn on notifications so you can be alerted right away when I go live next time. That way you guys don't have to miss any of these live hangouts. And I can answer your questions in the live, and you can be a part of this channel. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys stay tuned for more right here on The Stuff of Legend.